Guess what it be?
Oh, it's Miles.
Hey, Miles. Well, it's 12 o'clock, so let's get started. Hey, guys. So welcome. I know we know many of you. I'll just give you a little intro to who we are, as always, real quick. And then we'll get right started with our wonderful interview guest this week, Miles Allen. I'm Ashley Bornanson. I'm one of the co-founders of Voice Masters with the wonderful Mimi Maynard and Paulette Lifton, who are casting directors and producers. Voice Masters is located right in Burbank, California, but we teach all of our classes online virtually right now because hashtag adapt or die. Yeah, we've just been fortunate to work on a number of TV shows, films. Me and Paulette are always working on different things every single day. I know Paulette's like, oh, I'm on the phone with Netflix right now. We got to change the link and all this stuff. So we're constantly working. I'm a voice actress myself, and I've done a number of TV shows and films. We have a film actually coming out July 31st that you'll have to check out, Latte and the Magic Waterstone. We also do a raffle at the end of these free Q&As with our wonderful voiceover guests, and we give little gift certificates to our classes. So if you, apply to be in the raffle, be sure to stick around because we do have 2 winners this week. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce a good friend of mine I've been friends with for many, many years, who's super talented, big voice actor, and also social media influencer and content creator. And I know we always talk about this, so I'm so excited to introduce Miles Allen. Welcome.
It is so great to be here.
Hi, Miles. How you doing?
I am splendiferous. I just got done shooting my first branded content brand deal for TikTok. So
wow, yeah. That is so cool, and you'll have to tell us all about that. I want to start from the beginning though, which isn't even really we'll start from the beginning.
I was a poor Minnesota farm boy, and no.
What? I know as a child, you really started using voices to kind of lift your spirits when you were growing up. Can you tell us like how you started realizing that you could take on so many different voices?
Yeah. So I always say I didn't have any friends growing up, so I learned to just make up my own. And it's sort of, it's sort of half true. Growing up, I was severely bullied in the school system where I grew up in Northern Illinois. And, I didn't really have any friends or people to hang out with after school. So I would just go home and watch cartoons. Mm-hmm. And I remember I got like my first SpongeBob DVD, and I started watching the special features, right? The behind the scenes. And then I'm watching all the voice actors, Tom Kenny, Bill Fagerbake, and just like they're doing their thing. And I just start mimicking what they're doing. And so I go on the school bus the next day and I start like, we start doing Patrick's voice. And the people are like, oh my gosh, that's really good. And I was like, oh, affirmation? What? And so I was like, I can control how people laugh at me now. And so I just sort of like kept, like, I got hooked. I just kept like building upon that, and doing various cartoons and celebrity impressions. And yeah, it just kind of became my thing. It was my thing. First it was like, oh, it was a fun talent. But then eventually I was like, oh, voiceover would be a pretty cool career, actually. So I went for it. I'm going for it. It's, it's a grind, but.
And I want you to tell them a little bit about your one-man Breaking Bad show.
Yeah. So about a year into living out here, I moved here in 2012. My buddies and I were sitting in my living room, and we just got done watching the second to last episode of Breaking Bad. And my buddy Brian I was doing the impressions of the characters because it's just something I do impressions all the time. And my buddy and my roommates are cracking up, and my buddy and I at this time I'd been growing out like this really gnarly beard, and I probably hadn't showered that day or something. Like my buddy Brian's like, Miles, those impressions are so good, and you just look so homeless. Like let's like do this video where you pretend to be a homeless guy and do Breaking Bad impressions for food. was like, that sounds really dumb. Let's do it. Um, and so we go and shoot the next day. My buddy uploads it to like his brother's YouTube to like keep anonymity. And all of a sudden, like less than 24 hours later, I'm getting calls from the Huffington Post and the Daily Beast asking if I'm the homeless guy. Then to which I reply, no, but I'm really close. I'm an actor. So close, this far away from being homeless. But yeah, and I was like, oh, cool, like kind of like little 15 minutes of fame or whatnot. But then about a few weeks after that, I get this email from this guy who says he's a producer in Australia, and that he saw my video and he has this idea to do a one-man show about Breaking Bad. And asked, this is like, we'd fly you out, we'd pay you, and how's that sound? And I was like, that sounds like you're the Nigerian prince that's going to wire me money. But it's actually ended up being legitimate. And we signed a contract. They flew me out to Melbourne, Australia. And I was just thinking, man, these guys, I feel bad. I feel like I'm taking advantage of them. Like, no one's going to come and pay money to see me do Breaking Bad impressions for an hour. Well, I was very wrong. We had a sold out run all the way through. We got picked up to go to the Edinburgh Fringe in Scotland. And there the show got sold for a world tour. And so 185 shows in 10 countries later, was a world touring comedian, I guess.
You were gone for like 2 years.
Yeah.
So it's so crazy that one video did that, but it was because it was so fun to see all of your, millions of impressions. Can you do a few of your voices for us? And then I want to talk about how you construct your impressions and how you've used that in voiceover. But any favorite characters that you've done that you've noticed people really kind of resonate with?
Well, people really like my SpongeBob.
And then I also do Plankton as well. I actually do a lot of the cast from SpongeBob.
I also do a bit of Michael Caine here and there. If they're going to die, they might as well do it and decrease the surplus population.
And then, sometimes I can do a little Eddie Murphy. Shrek and Donkey, another wild adventure.
And
this one is a really annoying one, but not many people can do it. So I do Iago from Aladdin.
Melinda's freaking out, and I know you can do so many more. Everyone definitely follow Miles all over his social media at Miles Allen.
Sorry, my mic was peaking.
So Miles, a lot of people ask, like, what is your process in taking on these characters, and how have you used your, knack for impressions to develop your own characters in voiceover?
Yeah. So like the process of impersonating a character, sometimes, right, I've just been doing it for so long. Like I've been doing it since I was 13. So I don't even realize that there's a process, but I'm sure if you like broke it down, there's probably a subconscious process I'm doing that I don't realize that I'm doing. Yeah. But, I hear a voice and, I just, I try to find it in my range, but more importantly, I always say like mannerisms and the essence of a character. Like it's just like with impressions, right? Like that's way more important than just like trying to get an exact voice match. Like trying to be precisely like, I gotta find that frequency to make sure that it sounds exact. It's like, no, if you see SNL impressions of celebrities, they're not spot on impressions, but they've got the essence and the mannerisms down. They've got it down, and then they they hyperbolize it, and so it's hilarious and whatnot. They lampoon it. So yeah, I that's what I always say when people are like, I can't get that voice. And like, well, just try like copying the mannerisms. Like, try ordering coffee as that character, and how would that character order coffee?
I love it.
Yeah.
Did that help you in developing your own original characters?
It probably does, and I probably don't even realize how much it helps me develop my own characters, because it's just even like for this. So I got booked with this. I'm like a recurring character in this series called Totally TV, and I ended like I took the essence of a character from a really popular British sitcom called IT Crowd. And then I use that as sort of the foundation to build off of the character that they wanted me to play. And so the character I have is not that character from IT Crowd, but that was the original foundation. And then sort of yes-anding it's kind of like incorporating improv in it as well.
Yeah.
So
I love it. And you're someone who I think can say that it's been so important to create content and to put yourself out there in this way, and has had a really big effect on your career. I mean, I feel like every year there's like something new that comes from you creating content. And just recently during quarantine, you kind of just tried out TikTok for fun. And can you tell us what's happened and what that has led to as well?
Yeah, it was interesting, right? Quarantine hit, and I'm like, well, let's go see what them Gen Zers are all talking about this TikTok. And so I downloaded it, and I was like, this might be a fun season. However, who knew how long this quarantine was going to last? But I was just like, maybe it's like a month or two where I can just focus on being creative and have fun and see what sticks, see what takes off. And I downloaded it, start posting probably like a video every other day. And then I think about like within 2 weeks, one of my videos hit over 1 million. Where I did like 20 impressions in 60 seconds. And then I really kind of found my stride a few weeks after that, when I started like doing like Family Guy sings this popular song, or just pick this. It's really cool, like mesh pop culture and parody it. So people really tend to. It's almost like
good.
It's almost like bread and butter when it comes to like view counts and like fan engagement. Is like just pick something popular, mix it with something else that's popular, and you're probably gonna find some sort of audience with that.
And I remember getting a text from you being like, I'm getting all these meetings with voiceover agents and all that. How did they find you? How did that go?
So it was kind of like through friendships, it's all relationships in this business. We all know that. It's not what you know, okay, that's who you know. But you better know something if you meet them. But yeah, so just several people just like, hey, like check out my buddy's TikTok. He also does voice acting. Here's his reels, whatnot. Met with CESD. Someone actually connected me with Dean Panaro, and I just had a meeting with Abrams on Tuesday. Well, now A3.
Great.
And Abrams was especially exciting because they were like, the guy was like, hey, I'm already like, he's like, I'm familiar with your work. I was like, what? Like familiar with like TikTok? He's like, no, like before TikTok, like I saw your viral stuff on Facebook and
Awesome.
YouTube, and he was like, they're like really, right?
Yeah,
actors,
they were excited to see
they're excited to like meet, and I was excited. I was like, cool, yeah. And then the meeting just went really well, and they're like, and I was like, cool. So like, what do we want to do from here? And they're like, yeah, we'll have you meet. Let's have you meet the whole voiceover team, and we're gonna have a meeting set for Tuesday. I was like, great, cool. So that's promising. After that, we'll see what goes from there. But then they just started sending me auditions right out of the gate, and I was like, I hadn't like signed with them, but I was like, oh, this is probably like, I think this is a good sign if they're already sending me auditions and whatnot.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's exciting.
That's awesome, Miles. And way to be someone who just puts in the work. A lot of people have sent in questions asking, what has made you so comfortable to put yourself out there online in that way? And do you have any tips on putting yourself out there and just like owning your content and finding that like confidence within yourself?
Totally. Well, I'm a firm believer God made us each very, very unique, and we each have our own unique offerings and things to bring to the table. And so there is something very you-ish that only you have to share with the world. So, you know, I think it's important to like really like search for that and you know, even ask your friends, you know, what's unique about me? Like, what would you say is kind of makes me stand out? And or maybe, you know, that's something you already know, in which case it, especially if you're trying to do like entertainment, it's just right. If you're trying to do anything entertainment, you're going to be put in front of people. And what's great about social media is that there's no gatekeeper. There's no gatekeepers anymore. Like you can literally direct to fan. And if you have something that is of value and right, can engage and entertain or make people feel happy or laugh, like it's gonna do well, and it's gonna keep going. You know, I would say yeah, if like camera shyness or like putting yourself out there is an issue, like I get it. Like, oh my gosh, do I get it? Like I was really, really interesting side story. In kindergarten, the local news station came in and interviewed my class so that like, because we were like recycling crayons or something like that. And and like when they included every single child in that news segment in the evening except me, because I stuttered too much and I was so afraid.
Oh.
And it's like, yeah, it's like my whole life I've been trying to prove Channel 13 wrong. But yeah, it's just a process of like, you know, if it's something that you're afraid and insecure, like that's okay. That's okay to like feel the fear, just don't let it stop you.
What I love about you as well is that like even when you are auditioning and booking things, I know you're not going to stop creating your own content. And like you just said, you just did your first branded project. How important do you think it is to keep creating your own content?
Very. I mean, yeah, very. And it's I mean, it's such a blessing to be able to do that, right? Like we live in an age where you can just connect with fans directly and build your own audience, and you don't need, right? It's like Humphrey Bogart couldn't do that. He needed like studios, like he couldn't like he needed to have like a studio behind him, like pushing him and everything. You know, he's a talent. Obviously, Humphrey Bogart's a legend, but like this is such a unique time, and just like a lot of things are changing. A lot of the old rules are kind of being thrown out, and people are favoring, right? Social. It's a double-edged sword, right? It's like awesome to get to engage with fans, but then also now it's like the temptation is like, am I defined by the number of followers I have? And you're not. And that and it's important to walk that line and be like, I'm gonna put stuff out there, and I'm gonna do stuff that I enjoy. Like I enjoy creating, and if people like it, great. And if they don't, that doesn't make me less of a valuable person, like to society.
Yes, I love it. So true.
It's a hard line to walk.
I remember you were always like, do you love the video? Because if you love the video, it doesn't matter how many views it gets. Because I was always like super self-conscious about that. And I'm so excited to be putting out a video this next week about that.
Yes. Some of my favorite videos have the lowest view counts.
Wow.
Like, I'm not, it's like, it's like, okay, but I enjoyed creating that.
I
so
love
like
it.
that was good. That was good for me. It was good for my soul.
So any like advice for people who are brand new, just starting out, either to voiceover or creating their own content or to both? Like, yeah, I'll just start there.
Yeah. Take risks. Put yourself out there. You'll miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So yeah, if you're, I know that a lot of people in voice acting do impressions as well. If you can do them, like do them. And if you can't, that's totally fine. Find something else that you are good at and enjoy and want to share with the world. And and it's not necessarily even like an objective talent. Like I can do impressions. It could just be like you're able to like give people really inspiring and encouraging messages every day,
Mm-hmm.
or right, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you just love, maybe you have like a bunch of puppies and you just want to share your puppies with the world. I would follow you. I will absolutely follow you if you have puppy Instagrams.
Mimi's texting me saying he's Robin Williams.
Oh my goodness. I would, I'm like not worthy of that, but thank you.
No,
I
can I
love
just say
Robin.
something really fast?
Yeah.
Because in listening to you, Miles, and seeing some of your work, you have the natural propensity, because to be in that category of Robin Williams, because you are so in the moment when you are doing all this. It's far more than just impressions. You really take on the, as you say, the essence and the being of who it is you're doing or creating, and you are so quick, because what we always say is you're so on purpose. You're so there. And I wanted to tell you that because I just got to look at your stuff and I went, oh my God, you really have that talent. And it's rare because you're very uninhibited, and it's great. You're a great mentor for people.
Oh,
So
thank you.
Cry.
My goodness.
You could cry now.
I
You could
am.
cry now.
I'm
Because I'm usually pretty brutal, but in a nice way. But you really are.
Thank you, Mimi.
You're so welcome.
In terms of, because you've always been such a like guru in terms of like audio setup as well, and we've gotten questions of like what's his favorite mic to use, and what's his favorite setup, and you've always been really good at like using the space you have. Can you take us through a little bit of that as well?
Totally. So my voice was back there. I can't pick up my laptop, or it'd be really awkward. But right, I sound treat my my closet, and spend a lot of times in a padded room talking to myself. But it's as far as like studio setup, it depends on your budget. I started out with like an Audio-Technica AT2020, like $100 mic, but tried and true, and would record on that. Then I upgraded to like a Rode NT1, and really like that. It's just like it's like a really good flat response mic. You can do anything with it. But as long as you have some type of like professional grade, like don't try to buy a $25 mic and pass it off as a voiceover mic. But I would recommend, if you're starting out, probably get like a USB mic. This isn't my voiceover mic. This is my TikTok mic and my Zoom meeting mic.
Nice.
And my travel and my travel mic. Actually, I will record voiceover on this when I'm traveling. But this is a USB mic. It's a Rode NT USB, and I like it. But that and the AT2020 USB, the Audio-Technica mic that I was talking about, they have a USB version. That one's really good as well if you're just starting out. And it's like that gives you your interface and a mic all in one.
Awesome.
And you can set the gain level on the computer. And then, you want to make sure that you're obviously not having a lot of echoes and reverb in the room. So you want to put foam. I have foam and moving blankets in there. Kind of a little mishmash of like ghetto and professional.
So you don't need to go and make a, couple $1,000 setup. Like that works really, really well for you.
I mean, when you're getting to like Don LaFontaine level, like sure, like you have your own decked out studio, but but for now, like you should be able to have you can build your own studio, like sound booth, and record professional quality voiceover for $300 to $500, which is unprecedented as far as like the price point and how cheap things have become. And whatnot. So
in terms of, we had a question from Michael Tatlock, and I think he's on. Hey, Michael. In terms of creating your original characters, how do you like to approach like working on them? Like what's your process?
Process of approaching original characters. Well, in animation, obviously, we're talking voiceover. Usually they'll have a sketch or like the full drawing photo of the character. And I don't know. I just sometimes I'll just see a character and I'll know his voice. I'm sure there's like a process there or something. I'm like, okay, listen, this guy's confident. It'd be fun to kind of play him a little cocky. All right.
Mhm.
Okay. That's good. Maybe he'll sound more like this when he's talking, it's hard. I've never like really broke down the process, but just I'd say look at the character or look at the description if there isn't a picture of the character,
Mhm.
and have fun.
And especially improv. Can you talk a little bit about how important improv is? Because we're big fans of improv.
Yeah. I mean, it sets you apart, right? Always put a button on your auditions and whatnot, like make you stand out. So if you're, if you're able to riff a little bit now, when you go actually and record, they might want you to stick right to the script. It depends on who you're with, but it's a lot better to show that you can improv than you can't, because they can just say don't improv and you're like, oh, fine. But if you do improv and they really like it, then they're like, oh my gosh, do that again. Yes, and you just kind of like, well, improv. I think improv shows that you understand the character. You're like, this character would do this, even though it's not written in the script. Like, I think this character would do this, or they'd snort at the end of this,
Yeah.
or something like that. Just add your own little flair.
Love it. I love it, love it, love it. Miles, any advice on like getting out there on TikTok?
Yeah. So, TikTok's an interesting bird. Don't be discouraged if you're not. I had one buddy reach out to me. He's like, dude, I was downloading TikTok, but like, my first video, it only had like, I don't know, it was like, 200 views or something like that. I was like, well, don't set your expectations accordingly. Realize that like anything worth its weight in salt is going to take time. And sometimes things take off. You can have really great ideas and people might not they might not see them right away, and that's okay, but just keep creating, because if you're that's a muscle that you're exercising in your brain. Like,
to not think that it's all just going to come to you right away.
Yeah, and that's the big part. And like, I'm do as I say, not as I do, because I fall prey to this all the time, right? It's a classic insecurity of like, oh man, like I thought this video was going to do better, I must suck. Like,
like you have those insecurities too.
Of course, and it's like you just gotta like understand, like, okay, that's a thought, it's not true. Keep creating, stay the course, find something, or maybe find new angles to create.
Do you like have your friends or anyone watch your content before you post it, or do you have like a process and okay, this is my video idea today and I have this deadline, I'm always going to do it on Fridays, or how's that process?
For sketch, yeah, I have a team of friends that are really good writers that I send out my sketch stuff to, right? And it's like, it doesn't take them long. It's at most a minute long sketch. They look at it and they're like, oh, it's pretty funny. I do this. Oh, okay, cool. Good idea. Yeah, it's always good to collaborate with people, mind melding and whatnot.
Yes. And do you kind of set a date of, okay, no matter what, I'm going to post it on this day? Or like, how do you get the confidence to create videos, post them, and then let it go?
So this changes. Like, I'm not as regimented as I'd like to be. Some weeks I am, some weeks I'm not. And sometimes I'll shoot like 4 videos at once. Then I'll edit them the next day. And then I save them all. You can save stuff in your drafts in TikTok. And then I'll post them kind of as you go. You can't schedule posts yet on TikTok. I think they're working on changing that. So I think it's good to just batch shoot. Like, if you shoot a bunch of stuff at once and then see which ones you like the most, and start posting those first, and then you have like a backlog of content and you don't have to play. It's really hard. Like, it's really hard when you're trying to like, you focus on one video a day and you're like, you try to create, edit, pump out one video. You're like, it's like living paycheck to paycheck, but with content creation. It's just not good. Like, it's stressful. It's much better to have like a kind of like a backlog of content and ideas. And, I try to spend at least 30 minutes to an hour writing in the morning, like writing new TikTok ideas. Writing sketch.
Good,
like,
I have a question.
yes.
yeah, Mimi.
Hello. I have a little question
Hello.
for you.
Plug in my
Hello
computer
there.
really quick while you ask that.
Okay. So here's my question to you. I'm curious because I love your process, because your process is your own. And when you're asked questions, you go, I just do it, which is what we always say, just do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you something about when you're actually writing something and putting it down, either audio or video, TikTok, whatever. Do you find, and I'm finding for myself doing that, I'm in the trenches with all of you guys too, because they do the same thing. In the past, I used to do my takes and then I'd put them down, I'd listen to them, edit them, and I go, okay, this one. I find now, and that's what I'm asking you, I walk away. And I digest it. And then I come back and listen to it again, because many times lately, I find when I do that, I go, wow, after listening to it again, it sounds completely different. And either I want to change it or do it again. And I'm asking you, Michael Woodley's nodding his head, I find that that's actually very helpful now. And I don't know whether or not you do that. It sounds like you don't, but I
Not
really,
yet. Not yet.
Well,
I might just steal that.
You know what? I suggest you do it, because I've been doing this for many years on this side, as on the acting side as well. And I find I'm getting a lot more response, because I then walk away, listen to it again, and then I go, oh, I like the other take better, or I think I'm going to do it again, or whatever. And I never had that perspective before. And I was wondering whether or not you had it, but you don't do that.
Well, I think I think I naturally do that sometimes with, like,
Right.
you shoot something,
Yes.
and then you edit them the next day. So you do have sort of
Same
fresh
thing.
eyes.
Yes.
With that.
So in a way, you do it. You just do it.
But I think
differently.
incorporating that more intentionally, I like that. Thank you, Mimi.
You seem
I'm
to be
going back
also, you seem to be also just like a very self-starter. And my boyfriend is one of those where if he doesn't know how to do something, he will just Google it. And he's like really taught me how to, like, I can learn anything. I don't need to ask a million people first, and I can just find it myself and teach myself. And you seem to be, I remember when I had a question on TikTok, you were like, and then you crop it this way, and then you send it to this device, and then you add this layer. And I was like, oh, like, can you talk about too, like how it just seems like a lot of people will be like, well, I don't know that platform, so I can't do it, or I don't know how to edit like that, or I can't do that. And just how you've been able to just adjust and use the internet, and just how important it is to adapt.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, especially now, most of us are cooped up in our homes. It's good. Like, learn editing. I don't know how much more of, like, I just act like it is going to be a thing anymore. Like, it's going to be a lot of, like, it's going to be a lot of people creating their own content, knowing how to, like, shoot and edit, and like, there's a plethora of information, like, to just consume for free on YouTube. And you can learn how to run a camera. You can learn how to do basic audio settings, and even, like, audio stuff that I learned in, like, college and whatnot. Because I did do, like, I studied some camera and audio in college. But even so, like, I'll go back to YouTube and find videos and, like, oh, okay, I'd like to see how people do it better.
Yeah.
And always be learning, right? Because learning's, when you don't know something and you're learning, like, that's a fun process. You're learning a new language. yeah, I think, yeah, the most harmful thing you could do in this age of entertainment and content creation is going to be like, oh, like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to do that. Because it's like, why wouldn't you use every tool? Like, it's a competitive industry. Why wouldn't you use every tool available to compete?
Yeah.
So
I love it. And it's not going away, you know? I mean, we don't know how long even quarantine or whatever this life is going to last. And why not start finding that inner voice inside each of you and finding ways to bring that out? And yes, to work on your auditions and to give it your all. But that's not bookings are not a guarantee, and you have to keep up your creative juices, right?
yeah.
And then you'll get branded deals just like Miles. Lastly, I just want to ask, like, what has been your best piece of advice and the worst piece of advice you've ever received? Maybe start with the worst so we end on a high note.
Yeah. I would say the worst. I don't know if it was advice, but the guy I remember I first moved to LA, and one of my close friends, one of the people I befriend at my church, he's like, I told him that I did voiceover, and he connects me to his. It's like, oh, my buddy, like he can maybe like show you the ropes and whatnot. And he connected me to his buddy, and his buddy
Oh God.
just came, and I think this can happen with industry people that are, you know, in there for a long time. Like, it can't, if they aren't careful, they can just come off very arrogant and discouraging. And like, he just was like, you know, I was fresh from the Midwest, you know, I had this like reel of impressions, right? I didn't know. And he basically like poo-pooed on like everything I had done, and like was just like, yeah, you're not gonna you'd really do anything unless you know, take my $400 a month class, you know, type of thing. And I don't know, it was just kind of like, oh, well, you know, obviously I didn't listen to him, like, but
what you'll find too, and I'm sure you found this because I found this and I love using it as a reference, is all of those types of teachers that kind of treated me like that, which is why we were so passionate about making Voice Masters and making it a really safe and encouraging community, is that now those teachers use me as one of their examples. And I'm like, you totally like not that nice to me, discouraged me from being in the industry, you know, and they're like, our star, whatever. I'm like, okay. But what was your, so I bet worst advice was, being discouraging.
Just discouraging,
And, you know.
and not necessarily so. Like, there's always something you can encourage someone in. Like, you can give helpful critique. There's a big difference between helpful critique and just like arrogant discouragement.
Yeah. And what was your best piece of advice?
Best piece of advice was from Billy Hayes, who is the author of The Midnight Express. Him and I were performing in Melbourne together in 2015. My producer brought him to do a one-man show for him, and just an amazing guy, right? And if you ever read or, you know, watched the movie Midnight Express, like, his story is crazy. You know, escaping from a Turkish prison, and he you know, he told me, and I think I said this earlier, feel the fear, don't let it stop you.
Right.
The fear is real. Feel it. You can recognize it. Choose to not let it stop you.
You know, Miles, just to add to that, my very close friends did a documentary about him that's on HBO.
Oh, really?
It is amazing. And they went to Cannes, and I kept reviewing all of their cuts. And it's actually the story of Billy Hayes and what he went through.
Wow.
Pretty amazing. I just thought if you don't know about it. Yeah.
I didn't. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. It's a brilliant documentary. Yeah.
And,
Just a little FYI.
Billy's an amazing guy.
Oh, yeah. You've said this kind of from the beginning of everyone finding their own, God-given talent that's inside of them. I'm sure you'd agree with us in saying, because so many people come to us almost on a daily basis saying, well, why would I get into voiceover? It's so competitive. Like, it's run by like 5 to 10 people in the industry. And it seems like you're kind of the mindset, like, if this is something you love, you have to do it, and you can't be discouraged by those types of people.
Yeah, or even if you are, like, keep pressing on. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like, I don't expect, have grace on yourself. You're gonna feel discouraged. You're gonna feel frustrated. You're gonna feel these things. Understand, like, feelings don't equal facts.
Mm-hmm.
They're just feelings, and it's okay to feel, like, process them and do what you need.
We'll end on
Yeah,
that.
thanks, Melinda.
Keep going. So now when you guys start making your content online, you'll have to tag us voice.masters if it's on Instagram, and Smiles Allen. And
Show me what you got.
and where can we follow you and support you along your journey, Miles?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram or TikTok. Same handle at Smiles Allen. Yeah, which is
Awesome.
my name with an S at the beginning.
We will go ahead and let you go, Miles. And
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much for
Thank
having
you.
me.
So wonderful. You're an
Miles.
inspiration to
It was a
everybody.
blast and a half.
Yes.
Okay.
And be sure to check out Miles.
We'll check you out. We'll keep
social
following you.
media.
You keep following us, and it'll be a love fest.
Peace out. I love it.